I read the entire article and did not see anything, but evidently Mr. Kurash is probably listening right now.
I hope he is.
And the lawyer in that case for Tom Markovich, and he says he's going to go to court on this one. Perhaps that might change the.
He might want to do a little bit more research before he takes us to court on this one.
Yeah, evidently fire officials allege Markovich called a Hammond police non-emergency number on his cell phone to report a non-existent fire while drinking with other firefighters in a Highland tavern.
Right.
Okay, that's all that I know.
That was the second phone call, actually. There was a phone call, but we found out about the second one before we found out about the first one. The second phone call, the one that's in the paper, is a fake phone call to a non-emergency number for a carbon monoxide call, and we sent a squad out to investigate it. And that's actually one of the more dangerous parts of a fireman's job, is traveling to the scene. So we took that very seriously, and we suspended him, and he was suspended for upwards of 6 months. And we held the trial, and we were up in there about what we were going to do about it. Next thing you know, it comes to light through the Hammond Police Department that there was another phone call made before this one from the same cell phone. This one was to 911, and it was an actual fire call, and we dispatched a Hammond fire truck to a fire call in that case, and it was from the same cell phone that the second phone call was made, and that's a felony, actually. If you call 911 on a fake call, that's a felony, and I have a feeling that this former fireman's got legal problems that we're going to be reading about.
He faces a misdemeanor charge of harassment in Lake County Court over the incident.
But that was over the gas call.
Mm-hmm.
The fake fire call is much more serious. That's a felony, potentially. Well, so once we heard about the second call, it was a lot easier to deal with this situation. It's not easy because he's a good person, but he made a bad judgment call. And if you're a public safety officer, I can understand a 16-year-old kid doing a prank call to 911, but if you're a Hammond firefighter and you're doing these kinds of things, we don't need you.
219-845-1100. Let's go to Dave on line 6. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Hey, I've got a question concerning this Markovich story.
Sure.
I don't necessarily disagree with disciplinary action being taken, given the magnitude of the case, but I can remember in a not too long ago past where Dave Ham was involved in a couple similar situations, particularly a situation where he was at a local establishment. He didn't feel he was fit to drive, so in order to get home, he called 911 to facilitate a drive to get him home. That was a pretty well-documented case, and a case where I don't think there was any disciplinary action taken. Similar case to what went on here, as far as I'm concerned. It just seems to be a double standard as it relates to this situation with Markovich and Dave Ham.
All right, hang up and listen.
Thanks, Mike. I don't really agree at all, actually, with that. So,
are we getting into personnel areas?
Dave Ham's a retired fireman, and that wasn't a gentleman named Dave, I don't believe. I think that was a Hammond firefighter, actually. But it was not really a similar situation. If you call 911 and you call in a fake fire call twice, which is what happened in Mr. Markovich's case, that's not anywhere close to what happened, with any other previous person. This is the first time I've ever dealt with that issue. And we thought it was bad when a fake fire call went in. It was a carbon monoxide call went into a non-emergency number. We took that seriously because we had to dispatch a firefighter truck to go out there and find the fake call, all right? Then when we found out about the fake fire call, where we also dispatched a fire engine to a fake call, there's no situation I've dealt with as mayor that's even close to this. So I would disagree wholeheartedly with that.
On Thursday, with Daniels on a trip to Israel, the Office of Management and Budget Director Adam Horst detailed the new problem and what the state plans to do to win back public confidence. You have confidence in the state's numbers?
Absolutely not. It's a joke, really. I mean, it's a joke that this isn't a scandal. I mean, a bigger story than it is. $500 million in two separate mistakes. And this is the government whiz. Governor Daniels is the whiz from Washington, D.C. that helped, George W. Bush with his budget. I mean, it's embarrassing as a state. It's making my job harder locally, even though the second error did not affect us, I acknowledge, because local Lake County does not have a local option income tax. If Bob Lundy, who called in earlier, is off $50 on our books, it's a front page headline. And WJOB will pick it up, no offense, but it's a huge story when we get cited by the state boards for even being off $50 or $100. And Governor Daniels waves a monopoly card and jokes about $300 million mistake they made in December, and now they made a $200 million mistake, and they're just nonchalant about it. This is crazy. This is bad government. And he's making light of, gross mistakes that are costing us 9 figures. I guess not. Yeah, 9 figures. 9-figure mistake.
500 million. So yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's 9 figures. Yeah.
A 9-figure
Because you don't
mistake.
hear that sound. You don't
No.
hear that every day, but
That's
it
it.
is 9 figures.
2 separate mistakes, a 9-figure mistake. Almost a 10-figure mistake. They're halfway there. I don't know. I mean, is this going to tar his legacy? Probably not, because most people in the media basically catered to Governor Daniels. And I'm surprised actually people are still talking about it. And I appreciate you bringing it up, because
John Gregg, a former Indiana House Speaker who was Democrat candidate to succeed Daniels as governor, said there has to be an investigation that results in action and not one of these whitewashes. We'll never know how many firefighters, how many police lost their jobs. We'll never know how many economic development opportunities may well have been lost because of this money being misallocated. It's now $500 million. That may not be much money to some people. It may not be a lot to our current administration. It may not be a lot to Washington, D.C. insiders, but where this old boy's from, $500 million is a ton of money.
it is, and he's right. And then not only that, the thing is, when the $300 million mistake happened in December, Pat Bauer, the House Minority Leader, and Vi Simpson, the Senate Minority Leader, both called for an independent investigation, and they were literally laughed at. Like, literally, no way we're doing an independent audit. There's no need for an independent audit. This was a computer error. That's what they were saying in January. Now we have the second error, very similar to the first error. Guess what? They're doing an independent audit now. Maybe they should have listened. In January, we could have discovered that there was an error and maybe avoided laying off some people that got laid off. I mean, this is bad. It's bad management. Mitch Daniels is more worried about where his next job is than Mitch Daniels is worried about running government right now, and that's the problem. He's off in Israel. He's off, doing Sunday morning talk shows. He's not watching what's going on in Indianapolis. And it's
John Bunchich comes in here, and he says, I don't want to gloat on this or anything. I just want to tell you what the numbers are. But he says 103,000 he's raised for Animal Control Center in 15 months. And in Roy Dominguez's 8 years, it was 100,000, and he wasn't. It was just numbers, and he said, "Well, these came to me, and I put them out." And he wasn't gloating on it or anything, but it is fairly palpable between the current and the former sheriff that there's just not any love lost.
I think it's real important that Roy Dominguez loses against Jerry Shube to the Democratic Party. I think it's real important to take that guy out now, and we'll never have to deal with him again, hopefully. He's evil, and he's bad for our party. And if he wins, he will start the same games that he did when he was a sheriff, which is using taxpayer money to advertise Roy Dominguez. And he did it. And the bad thing is Sheriff Bunchich takes over, and he's got all these bills and all these problems that Dominguez bounced for 8 years, and now they're sitting on Bunchich's plate. And he's doing a good job dealing with them, but that's not fair. And I tell you, to see the type of campaign Dominguez is running against Shube makes me ill, because Jerry Shube's a good man. And he's been a good man for a long time. He's been in this game for a long time. He's done a good job. And he's your elder. I've always been taught to respect my elders, and Dominguez is beating the crap out of him, and he's a good man. It's just hard for me to deal with that.